The stealth aircraft's flight tests continue, but the Air Force has yet to announce when or where aviation enthusiasts will get a chance to see the flying wing bomber. Hamilton happened to be in the right place at the right time. I hiked 4 miles to find a new location to photograph a fighter jet flying a Sidewinder at low altitude. It was a fairly quiet day for jets, so I focused on photographing the aerial refueling that was taking place overhead, Hamilton told the aviationist. During my downtime, I noticed 2 condensation trails in the distance and immediately thought it was a B-21 with a chase plane. The aircraft made one big loop and then the condensation trails disappeared and so did the radar. I couldn't tell how far away it was, but it was definitely on the lower level of the 2508 complex. Shooting with his Canon R5 with a 100-500 lens, he was able to get crystal clear images of the aircraft. More opportunities to come. There will likely be plenty of opportunities for Hamilton and other aviation enthusiasts to see the B-21 radar in the skies. In addition to ongoing flight testing, the bomber is entering the low-cost initial production (LRIP) phase, meaning that production of production aircraft has begun. To help facilitate LRIP and keep costs in check, the original 6 prototypes used in flight testing are being built on the same production line that will produce the final aircraft. Last month, it was reported that the Pentagon is likely to award Northrop Grumman a contract for a second LRIP. The future backbone of the U.S. Air Force's bomber fleet is now on track to enter service before the end of the decade, replacing the aging Rockwell B-1B Lancer and Northrop B-2 Spirit. At least 100 of the aircraft will be built, or 5 times the number of B-2 Spirits, though some Air Force officials have suggested that number should be doubled. Open negotiations could lead to more B-21 Raiders reaching operational capacity sooner. While details surrounding the U.S. Air Force's next-generation bomber remain classified, it has confirmed that at least 6 B-21 Raiders are in various stages of production. Northrop Grumman President and CEO Kathy Warden revealed that at least one of the bombers has been flying tests over the past year. On a recent earnings call, Warden noted that the manufacturing giant and the Air Force have had preliminary discussions about potentially accelerating the B-21 bomber's production schedule. Warden said, "We'll work with the Air Force to see when those units will come under contract, and obviously we're gathering more and more actual performance data to help inform our discussions with them about the right price." She added, "So it's premature for me to comment on where we expect it to land, but that will be a discussion." Open negotiations between Northrop and the Air Force could culminate in more Raiders reaching operational capacity sooner. Given Beijing's progress on its own 6th-generation bomber series, the imminent arrival of more Raiders will only help the United States maintain air supremacy in this arena. Neither the Air Force nor Northrop has released exact figures on the B-21's production rate. However, analysts believe that 7 of these bombers will be developed each year. The reason for the B-21's slower production schedule could be a deliberate choice by the Air Force to ensure that the 6th-generation program is immune to potential variations caused by budget constraints or other cost overruns. Notably, the overall budget for the B-21 program is decreasing between 2023 and 2025. As the aviationist explains, the Raiders' budget for the first 5 production lots went from more than $19 billion to just under $14 billion for 2025. Historically, emerging technologies and advanced airframes have led to increased budget expectations. The B-21's unusual price tag suggests the potential for increased production. Essentially, dozens more B-21s could be produced if the overall program price remains lower. The U.S. Air Force has confirmed that at least 6 B-21 Raider stealth bombers are in various stages of production, with one reportedly undergoing flight testing as early as November 2023, according to sources familiar with the matter. While details remain classified, it is clear that Northrop Grumman is producing the advanced bomber as slowly as possible. The B-21's production rate is classified, but insiders speculate that the Air Force is producing about 7 per year. This rate is intentionally kept low, with sources suggesting that it is a strategic move to protect the program from potential budget cuts, a concern that has been raised especially since the White House decided to freeze the Next Generation Air Dominance (NGAD) fighter program. Behind the scenes, Northrop Grumman has secured a second contract for the B-21, which will deliver the next batch at a much lower cost by the end of 2024. CEO Kathy Warden confirmed this during an earnings call on January 30, noting that the company is continuing to move full speed ahead with the low-rate initial production (LRIP) phase. The B-21's path forward appears to be locked in, despite pressure from Washington, and it's clear that the stealth bomber is shaping up to be a key pillar of the Air Force's long-term strategy. The United States Air Force (USAF) decided to begin production of the B-21 Raider after several years of development, testing, and planning. The decision to begin low-cost initial production (LRIP) was made by Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment William LaPlante in early 2024, after successful ground and flight tests demonstrated the aircraft's readiness for production. The USAF initially announced plans to buy 100 B-21 Raiders. This was set to be a record program, with production expected to continue through the mid to late 2030s. However, recent discussions and reviews suggest that there may be changes to this initial order size. Northrop Grumman, the B-21 prime contractor, has indicated that the Air Force is conducting a force structure review, which could lead to adjustments in the number of bombers ordered. There are indications that production capacity could be increased if needed, with some officials suggesting that there could be an increase in the number of B-21s ordered due to strategic considerations and potential cost savings from economies of scale in production. On the other hand, there is no concrete information confirming a decrease in the order. However, the Air Force's approach is very cautious, focusing on production rates that ensure resilience to budget fluctuations, taking lessons from the F-35 program where rapid production increases led to significant cost overruns. The current strategy involves starting with low production rates, increasing them gradually, and ensuring that each phase of production is aligned with technological advances and strategic needs. Discourse around B-21 production numbers is influenced by broader military strategy, including the integration of the Raider with next-generation systems such as the Next Generation Air Dominance (NGAD) program, and considerations of budget constraints versus strategic requirements. To date, although the official plan remains at 100 bombers, ongoing force structure reviews could change this number, potentially increasing it if the strategic environment warrants or if the Air Force deems it economically and operationally feasible to do so. The B-21 Raider, developed by Northrop Grumman for the United States Air Force, is the latest addition to the USAF's long-range strike bomber fleet. The stealthy bomber is designed to penetrate the most advanced air defense systems and conduct precision strikes with conventional and nuclear payloads. The B-21 is a significant evolution of its predecessors, the B-2 Spirit and B-1 Lancer, incorporating sixth-generation technology to ensure it remains effective against future threats. The B-21 Raider's design is based on the B-2's flying wing configuration but introduces many improvements. It features a more advanced, low observable design, reducing its radar signature even further than the B-2, thanks to highly concealed engine inlets, twin-wheel main landing gear, a unique trapezoidal windshield, and improved radar-absorbing materials. The aircraft's external dimensions are slightly smaller than those of the B-2, with a focus on increased range and stealth. In terms of propulsion, the B-21 is powered by two stealth-optimized engines, likely the Pratt & Whitney PW9000 or F135, each capable of producing more than 25,000 pounds of thrust. These engines are specifically designed to minimize thermal and radar signatures, allowing the bomber to operate undetected in contested environments. The B-21's avionics suite is state-of-the-art, incorporating multi-sensor fusion technology that combines radar, infrared, and electronic warfare inputs into a cohesive operational display. This enhances the aircraft's situational awareness and ability to defend itself against enemy air defenses. The B-21's electronic warfare capabilities include systems to jam, spoof, and evade advanced radar and missile defenses, ensuring the aircraft's survivability in high-threat scenarios. For weapons, the B-21 is equipped with an internal weapons bay that can accommodate up to 50,000 pounds of ordnance. This includes conventional bombs, precision-guided munitions, and nuclear-tipped bombs or missiles. The bomber's open architecture design allows for the integration of future weapons without major modifications, ensuring its adaptability to evolving threats. The aircraft can employ a mix of long-range and direct attack munitions, such as the Long-Range Standoff (LRSO) missile and the B-21-12 guided free-fall bomb, among others. The B-21 Raider also features advanced networking capabilities, allowing it to connect with other military assets for coordinated operations or act as a battle management platform. Its software is designed with an open architecture, facilitating rapid upgrades and integration of new systems or software patches, which is critical to maintaining an edge over adversaries. The aircraft's construction process involves digital design and modeling, which reduces the risks associated with production and maintenance. Northrop Grumman has implemented a strategy where the first test aircraft is built as a production representative, equipped with mission systems, and using production tooling and processes. This approach ensures a smooth transition from development to full-scale production. Sustainability of the B-21 is also a priority, with steps taken to make maintenance easier and less expensive than previous stealth bombers. The use of virtual reality in maintenance procedures, such as Northrop Grumman's highly immersive virtual environment, HIVE, allows technicians to practice on a digital model of the aircraft, identifying potential problems before they occur in the real world. The B-21 Raider is more than just a bomber, it is a platform designed to evolve with technology, ensuring the USAF's long-range strike capability remains resilient to future threats. With plans to acquire at least 100, the B-21 is set to become the cornerstone of the U.S. nuclear triad, complementing the B-52 Stratofortress and other future systems in maintaining strategic deterrence. If the U.S. Air Force wants to buy more new B-21 Raider stealth bombers more quickly, it will be able to leverage capacity already built up in the production effort, the head of Air Force Global Strike Command (AFGSC) has confirmed. The revelation comes as the Air Force increasingly considers the size of its future Raider fleet, something that is being influenced by other next-generation air combat programs, as well as drone development and broader budget concerns. If the Department of the Air Force, the Department of Defense or Congress directs an accelerated increase for the B-21 program, there is some capability growth within the current complex, General Thomas A. Bussière said during an event hosted by the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies of the Air and Space Force Association yesterday. Bussière was responding to questions about the possibility of increasing B-21 production, including whether other contractors could be involved, in addition to Northrop Grumman. The AFGSC chief said he thought the most efficient way to expand production would likely require opening up another production complex with Northrop Grumman. However, Bussière's response suggested that there is now not only the possibility of building more B-21s but also some kind of additional capacity for increased production. The Air Force's long-stated plan has been to buy at least 100 Raiders. However, as we've discussed before, there is the potential that the B-21 force could eventually be much larger, and that broader topic is the subject of high-level discussions today. Bussière argued that now is the time to re-evaluate both total B-21 production and procurement levels, noting that the rapidly changing security environment means there will be a greater need for the incredible capabilities the stealth bomber offers. Who doesn't want more? He asked, noting again that the program on record calls for at least 100 B-21s. Bussière also pointed to the fact that, in the past, previous chiefs of staff, chiefs of the Air Force, and secretaries of the Air Force have all noted and testified before Congress that a fleet of 220 bombers would likely be needed to meet the requirement. Given the current plan to maintain 75 upgraded B-52Js, that would require a fleet of 145 B-21s. This is a force mix discussion within the Department of the Air Force, and this is a resource and priority question within the Department of Defense and the country, Bussière added. In October, Northrop Grumman, which is currently conducting ground and flight testing, also revealed that the total number of new stealth bombers could change as part of a force structure review. Northrop Grumman CEO Kathy Warden spoke about the review and added that Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall has been open about looking at the various options they have to increase the size of their force, specifically regarding the B-21 and NGAD. NGAD is the Next Generation Air Dominance Initiative, which includes the Air Force's manned 6th-generation stealth fighter. Yesterday it was revealed that a decision on NGAD's path has been left to the incoming Trump administration, as you can read here. The fate of NGAD will likely help determine the number of B-21s, especially since the Air Force has talked about stealth bombers potentially replacing 6th-generation fighters if they become scarce. As we've discussed before, the B-21 will be much more than just a long-range bomber, and adopting a more air dominance role is not entirely unexpected. Not only are the two programs, the B-21 and NGAD, already operating with some degree of overlap, but they are now competing for significant funding, and cuts to one program will almost certainly affect the other. Even before the Air Force launched its review of the NGAD requirement, which is due to be completed by the end of this year, there was discussion about the size of the B-21 fleet. During a congressional hearing in April of this year, Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin declined to commit to buying more than 100 Raiders. The B-21 is certainly the future of our bomber force. 100 is the program of record, Alvin said at the time. I don't think we'll get to that number until the mid-2030s and beyond. Of course, that could change if the decision is made to accelerate production. At the same time, Alvin said the command is already looking at other technological advances to equip the new bomber, likely referring to the Collaborative Combat Aircraft (CCA) drone. The CCA also came up during Bussier's talk yesterday. The AFGSC chief confirmed that the command is considering the potential for a long-range autonomous CCA to operate alongside the B-21, but he also noted that they first want to wait and see how the concept works in conjunction with a manned fighter. We're going to let the warfighter mature that concept with Increment 1, and then we'll be ready to integrate it into the long-range strike system family, probably at a later date, Bussier said. I won't get ahead of the chief or the secretary, but a legitimate question is whether long-range strike would benefit from the CCA concept, Bussier added. Right now, we don't have that plan. Just a day before Bussier's talk, another Air Force official, 8th Air Force Commander Major Jason R. Armagost, had observed that a big aircraft, like a bomber, has a lot of ports and a lot of radios, and in many cases, a lot more crews that are able to manage things like CCA. That may be true, but there are questions about the utility that a CCA developed primarily to operate alongside a manned fighter would have on missions flown by long-range bombers, which are on average much longer in duration. At the same time, the CCA Increment 1 that Bussier referred to is also primarily intended for air-to-air missions, at least at this point. With that in mind, it's a bit puzzling that there's no dedicated companion drone in the long-range strike family of systems, at least, none that we know of. But the statement about pairing the CCA with the B-21 seems to indicate that it does not have a drone companion capable of assisting it tactically. This potential obstacle has also been raised by Kendall in the past. In fact, Kendall initially supported the idea of CCA complementing long-range bombers, before admitting, in 2022, that the idea of a collaborative fighter with the same range turned out to be not cost-effective. While the Air Force plays a waiting game to see how best CCA, and what type of CCA, should collaborate with the next-generation stealth bomber, it seems certain that drone development will also play a major role in shaping the size of the B-21 force. At the very least, CCA is now officially back on AFGSC's radar. It's worth noting that, earlier this year, Northrop Grumman disclosed a nearly $1.2 billion loss on the B-21 program, admitting that it also expected to lose money on each of the initial 5 production lots of the low-cost bomber. However, the company still expects to earn significant revenues from the program over its lifetime, even without additional orders. At the time of the Raiders' public unveiling in December 2022, the overall program cost was pegged at $203 billion in fiscal year 2019 dollars, based on a fleet of 100 bombers, according to a report from Bloomberg. The cost of the first 5 low-cost production lots has since been reported to have dropped from the 1930s budgeted for in 2025, according to figures published by Aviation Week, a 28% discount. I think in the next few months, we'll probably get a better indication from the Air Force of how they're thinking about B-21 quantities over the long term, Warden added in October. While officials have not spoken publicly about any changes to specific B-21 numbers, it is worth noting that AFGSC considers additional production capacity available, if needed.